Hello everyone, welcome to this quick platform tour for Visor. In this video we'll talk about the interface, walk you through a simple and easy way to set up and explore the application. But just before we jump in, I wanted to say a few words about Visor's philosophy, what the tool is and what it isn't at this stage of development, right? Because right now there is full of expensive tool in the industry selling you naive gex assumption inside massive monthly subscription fees usually, and Visor is built to bridge that gap, to try to give you a very optimized, customizable, and basically quality asset platform as a local solution at the right price. To do that, Visor connects directly to your IBKR account. It takes the raw feed you already pay for and runs proper Black-Scholes-Merton modeling to map out gamma exposure, Greeks, and market structure in real time, okay? And of course, all on your desktop. So now to be transparent at this stage, because IBKR provides aggregated end-of-day open interest rather than consolidated OCC type, we are not tracking hidden institutional flow or intraday open interest changes. What we are giving you is a professional grade, fully transparent read on the market structure using the data your broker provides you, and in this case, IBKR. In the future, Visor will likely integrate its own granular data feed or comes with more broker integration, which will unlock a whole new level of depth. But until then, we want to be upfront about what the current data support. With that said, let's dive into Visor user interface and feature. All right, here we are within Visor's interface. So the very first time you launch Visor, you might have something similar to what I have at the moment, which means nothing. Actually, you don't have any data, as you can see. What I do is I invite you to click this button here to download a data sample. This will basically install a data sample from our server for a random instrument and allow you to populate the interface with actual data from a previous day, okay? So as you can see, everything is populated now. I can move the history slider and we can see here through the instrument selector that the data corresponds to QQQ. All right, so now let me close most of the panels actually, so it might be easier to explain and remove a bit of the visual noise that all this data creates. Okay, so I'll just really keep the bare minimum. Okay, so now just to explain the layout of the application. So you have one big top section, which is this bar, let's say, okay, finishing here. Then you have one big panel section that would be here, stopping there, okay. And then you have that history bar here, with basically a playback feature, update rate here that you can adjust. And at the very bottom, you have the state bar, okay? So it would be this bar here. Both of them are removable. So the top bar and the history bar are removable. You can click this button here. So this would be the home bar, okay, top bar. This would be the historical bar. And currently you can see that it's remaining red. This is because we are currently in history position. If we were connected live and we were streaming data, this wouldn't be red, this would be green, okay? So that's just a little indicator. So sometime when you are live and you see nothing is moving, it just reminds you that you haven't put the slider position to the most recent update point. And actually this red dot here would be clickable if you were not to recall that you can go live, right? Okay, so let's dive into the panel section for now, okay? I'm just going to add a few panels just to explain you a bit how the UI works. So everything is customizable. You can remove panel, change the way they are docked if you want them to appear on a single tab version, if you want them to be on top, on the side of each other. You can customize everything you want, okay? Some panel may adjust depending of their scale, like the vanna chart, for instance, you know. If you want to make a floating window, you can also put it on another screen, you know, or simply double click on the window. Like if you double click here, it will now become a floating window, okay? And as soon as I will place it on top of something, it will want to dock again. So that's a very easy way to customize your interface. Of course, it's saved, so when you restart the application, it will become the same. It will remember your settings, right? And yeah, that would be it for the customization of the layout. As you can see, many panels, they have tiny buttons like this, okay? That's clickable buttons, so you can change basically what it says. If you need more help, you can refer to the documentation. Like for instance, here we are switching gamma exposure based on open interest or weighted by volume, right? You can split and split. For some panels like heat maps, for instance, if I take the Gex heat map, which is here, right? I will put it on top so it's a bit bigger. You have a little cogwheel here that some panels have that, and basically you have settings for the heat maps themselves, okay? So that are more specific to the panel. So that that can be helpful if you need to change individual settings that are a bit more cosmetic, let's say. All right, so now the history bar is pretty easy to understand. It's just an history slider that replay all the data that you've been recorded when you are connected to the API. You have a little play feature with a time adjustment here, so you can replay session if you want to see or extract some sort of setup or just for education purpose. That's always nice to have. And at the bottom here, you have few buttons that are general on the software itself. So here you can see in the status bar, you will always have this little info here. So here we can see we are viewing historical data. We are in historical mode and we are looking at 0 DTE, okay? That's a little spot where you will have few data related to the application status, sorry. Here you have a button to take screenshots. Here you have a button to save, sorry. Here you have a button to import historical data. If you want to replay another day, for instance, that you've been saving, you can import it here and it will replay like basically this data sample that you've downloaded. And you have the settings of the application here. So let's dive quickly into the settings just to explain briefly. You have two main tabs, as you can see, General and Appearance. In the General tab, you will find everything related to API connection, okay? So API connection, chart display, and application general settings. As you can see here, you have quite just few parameters, no need to have more. Client ID, API port from your gateway TWS, the market data subscription line that you're allowed to use. Usually every user has at least 100 lines of market data, but if you're using another application on the side, maybe you would want to lower it a bit. And if you have more than 100 market data subscription line allowed, you can also crank it up. Visor will never, whatever happened, consume more than 150. I think it's currently consuming 149 actually. And that would be the maximum that is needed to feed the full interface with all the data. Here you have snapshots interval, very important settings that will define how much granularity you have between every frame, let's say, of data. So you see all here I'm rolling with my mouse wheel are every tick of data that have been recorded, and those are spaced by 10 seconds. You can see it here with the timestamp actually, that every time I move my slider position, it moves from roughly 10 seconds, okay? So the more, the lowest this value, the bigger the data file, okay? With 10 seconds, a full day will roughly be around between 50 and 70 megabytes of historical data, and the more you increase that, that gap, basically, the lightest the file will be. All right, so here you have a few settings for chart display, grid opacity that will be linked for all charts, line thickness, same, bar size that also are linked for all charts, and the Gex panel legend size, that this one is very unique to this panel, okay? Here you have the possibility to place the application always on top, so that can be useful if you have a floating window that you want to be always findable and clickable. Weekly Gex is just the settings that will remember if you want to be asked about plotting the weekly data that are a bit longer to fetch because we are limited to 150 calls through the API, right? So disabling this might make the connection process a bit faster, but anyway, when you have it connected, you will be prompted every time you connect if yes or not you want the weekly gex again. Here you have a button to reset to default. Okay, so basically just reset the application to its default theme and layout. And you have a few themes that are pre-installed. So if you want to change the colors of the interface quickly, go to another type of theme, you can do it. And yeah, in the most easy way. We'll go back to the QuantKit theme. Here you have the appearance tab, self-explanatory, sorry, with basically all the settings of colors, opacity that you might want, the type of line, if you want to have only horizontal line, path, or both. And yeah, basically few settings per panel for the different color, okay? So quite simple, you can customize pretty much everything in addition of the layout. And if you cancel, of course, it won't save anything. And here the instrument selector as said just previously. All right, so that's it for the bottom section. Now let's go to the top section, which is a bit more interesting. So here you have two big sections for the panels. This section here and this section here. This section on the top left is basically focusing on intraday data, 0 DTE, okay? And this section here on the right, these three little buttons are focusing on what we just show in the settings dialog. It's focusing on 5 DTE expiration, so weekly and yeah, 5 DTE. So if you are on a Friday, the weekly gex, for instance, can show you the gex only for Friday, but this panel here will also show you the same thing, or show you the 5 next day to expiration, okay? So two big section, intraday and a bigger picture, let's say, okay? Here you have a home button, so that's basically just a little button about QuantKit, about Visor, with your license, with the important link to see the documentation, the Discord, and if you have an update available, this button here will be clickable, okay? You can also copy your hardware ID, sorry, if you ever need it, and see the state of the application. Quite basic. Okay, here now, few settings that are quite cool. You have the strike range, the time window, and a link button. So if you keep the chart linked, okay, every chart will respond to this slider. If you want to have independent zoom, you can unlink the chart, okay? So now I can zoom in independent chart as I want, and I can scroll plus control wheel to change the time window, sorry, okay? So unlinking the window basically gives you independent manipulation to each chart. The update rate is the amount of time the data are going to be updated on your chart, okay? So it is not changing what we saw previously in here, okay? It has nothing to do with that. Whatever the update rate here, this data will remain like you set it up, okay? So if I put 30 seconds here, I save, and this I put it to streaming, it means that every data on the platform will be basically updated on real time, like every tick, but it will save only to the historical file per 30 seconds period, okay? So the more you lower this, basically the more data points you will have here, but it's not really needed to be streaming. I mean, that's basically at your preference. You do whatever you want. Sometimes I am in 1 second, 5 seconds, 10 seconds. I rarely go to streaming, but you can definitely go to streaming. It's just basically going to listen to the API and show you the most recent data coming from interactive broker. All right, then this little panel here, very important one for day traders, future day traders. that is a converter, basically a converter of scale, of price scale. So in real time, if you are trading NQ, for instance, you will likely want to look at QQQ or NDX on the option side. But QQQ, you see, doesn't have the same scale than NQ. And because of interest rate, because of many different factors during the day, the spread basis has a tendency to evolve slightly. It's not much between QQQ and NQ, but if you look SPX and ES, for instance, you will likely see this gauge here going up. All right, so one important thing to know is that here you have NQ drift, currently 0 points, and you see it moves barely during the day, okay? But on some other instrument pair, it might raise a bit more. So at any point that this is too significant, you can click the resync button, okay? And it will readjust the spread basis to make sure that you have the highest amount of precision when it comes to the real-time conversion, okay? So this is the most accurate conversion you can do because it's basically streaming both price at the same time and calculating the basis spread all the time during the session. And here you have basically a duplication of everything from the overall view panel, okay? So if I want to add, let's say, some shortcuts data, I can have them here. You can scroll wheel this section to reveal what's hidden, you know, if you have too much. And you can reorganize the tab as you want, okay? When they are separated from, when they are not from the same category, you will see that they have a little green dot in between, okay? But when they are the same category, they will be joined like this, okay? Like those four here. And of course, if I put it here, it will create another gap. If I put it back here, it will merge with the same category that corresponds to each category here in the overall view panel, okay? So you can close that panel when you have basically made what you want here, or simply just not have anything here if you don't need them, okay? That's just a little recall feature. And yeah, that I think that wrap it up. That should be it. Now you have pretty much everything you need to know about the UI. If you have any question, feel free to put a comment or to look at the documentation or even to reach on Discord. I'll be very happy to help. And yeah, after that, I wish you the best trading and enjoy Visor. Bye.